I want you to learn how to actively invest for yourself because it's a skill set. And this is what I want all students and all people to know. This is a skill set that you'll have for life. When you know how to make your money grow, yeah, you might get busy, you might start working somewhere, but when you get that big bonus check, you know how to work it. Or, you're hustling, you sell your company, now all of a sudden you have some money, or anything, you're saving and you pay down some debt. Like, this is a skill set that you can turn on and off when you want to. And I wish that I had started investing for myself earlier.
So the question is this: how do thought leaders, school dropouts, former and current students find out what's next after they do or don't cross that stage? If you want to know the secrets to starting the career or business of your dreams, getting paid whatever you desire, and discovering what you do the best with the least amount of effort, then this is the right podcast for you. I'm Shawn Anthony, and this is School's Over. Now What? The podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Shawn Anthony, and I thank you guys so much for clicking that button because you could have picked any podcast out there, fam, and there's over 700,000 podcasts out there right now that you can select, but you chose School's Over. Now What? And let me tell you, just because you've clicked that button, a little bit about what we do. Each and every single week, we continue to bring you an inspiring person or a message. And here's the thing: anybody that has ever been on the show has answered the question we have all asked ourselves at some point in our lives. And that's, school's over, now what, right? What do we do? And what I like so much about how long this show has been blossoming on multiple, audio waves is that it has allowed entrepreneur-minded individuals like you level up in their careers and in their businesses. And this show will be nothing without you guys. And we're so grateful for that. If you know me, I like to kick this thing off with the review of the week. And the review of the week comes from J. David 336. And he wrote, "So motivational, so real, so amazing. Take the time to listen. You will not be disappointed. We need more of this in our community. Don't miss out." J. David 336, man, thank you so much for those kind words. Guys, right now, if you've gained any knowledge from this podcast, and if you feel the same way, do us a favor. Scroll to the bottom of your screen right now. If you're listening to this on iTunes, click that 5-star rating and leave us a review. It has helped us do tremendous things. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Are you thinking of starting a business? You're going to need a website. Or do you have a business but haven't updated your website in over 2 years? Then you need to hear this. Olive Branch Digital will help you create the website of your dreams. They are masters at turning your ideas to responsive websites that get picked up on Google and all the major search engines. Stop wasting time trying to learn the code and visit olivebranchddigital.com. Mention the podcast and get 10% off your website project. This episode is brought to you by www.patreon.com/schoolsover.nowwhat. For as low as $5, you can help us impact more people, tour schools, and reach communities. You also get exclusive Patreon-only content. That's bonus episodes, early access, and be able to go behind the scenes with me and some of our guests. Visit www.patreon.com/schoolsover.nowwhat and become a patron today. All right, let's get into the reason you clicked that button. Our next guest is Teri Ijeoma, and I'm so excited about having her on the show because we're going to talk about a topic I've been waiting to talk about that we have had no guests mention, and that is about the stocks, stock market, real estate. But we're going to talk about what you should be doing now. Here's the cool thing about this podcast episode. Teri quit her day job as an assistant principal of an elementary school and started traveling the world and trading stocks so much to the point that after her IG post started to blow up, people started asking her, how can she teach them to trade? And that way they can start traveling as well. Guys, get ready because she has now a business where she's teaching over 2,300 individuals on how to make $1,000 a day. I did not stutter. $1,000 a day. And today, you're going to learn her methods and more. Sit back and enjoy episode 116 with Teri Ijeoma. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited for this one because I had a lot of guests on the show, but not too many people have ever spoken about the topics that we're about to discuss. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Teri, the investor, is on the show today. How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks so much for having me.
Oh man, I'm excited for this one because I know what you bring. I know the energy you bring. And I think it's important to give people the story, right? Who is the person that he's talking to right now? They're going through the show notes, trying to find out more about you. Take us back to the girl growing up.
Okay. So the girl growing up, I didn't grow up with a lot. I had a single mom and a single grandmother. So it was 3 generations of women in the house. But I have always been an entrepreneur. So I remember even in elementary school, I used to go around the neighborhood and help all the old people in the neighborhood to get groceries. That was my little elementary business. And I was grinding. I had flyers and everything. So since I was little, I've been a hustler. And even now, like I see it still. I'm in real estate. I'm in stocks. And it's just been like a total journey of learning how to make money so that I don't have to give anybody else my time.
I think that's so key, right? Time is worth more than any dollar amount, right? So for you, as you know, as that girl growing up and you're making, you already had this hustling mentality, already at a young age. What was one of the first, businesses that you were really involved in, at a early age that had you saying, you know what, I might could do something with this?
Oh, I had a concession stand. I had the best concession stand at the YMCA. And then I even took it to high school. I had like the best candy business. Like I had people running candy for me to different classrooms. Like you couldn't beat, like teachers were on my staff. Like everybody knew in the first part of the day in high school, Teri was going to bring out her buckets of candy. Everybody was going to get the candy during class and I was going to come collect my money. Like,
yeah, that's real.
Yes. But you know what? My mom so I told you we didn't grow up with a lot. So my mom, she would work she worked for the Dallas Housing Authority and then she worked in lots of like service businesses. So to supplement her income, I always saw her as a referee. She would go referee basketball for the YMCA. And then she would take me with her and then I would have a concession stand on the side. So I was the one that was like nachos, candy. Like if anybody else knows like that, look, that's like clutch when you get to the game and you need to get some like popcorn. That was me.
That popcorn tastes different when you at on the games.
Right. Like, honestly, I got a new house and the first thing I bought was like a real popcorn machine. Like, cause it tastes good. You can't get away from like the movie theater type popcorn.
You can't get away from it. You know what I like about certain things? It's so funny. We already started talking about just food, but some things take you back to that mentality where you're like, yo, I remember when, I had to be the one that was the one providing the commodities to the event. I think that's pretty cool that you and your mom both were like in the same spot, right? That's awesome. Yes. That's a heck of a hustle. So like, take me through school though, right? I think so many people, when they hear the word stocks, when they hear the word real estate, we all start thinking about numbers. So like, were you somebody that like loved math class or something like that or what?
I have to tell you the truth. Like I graduated 3rd in my class and then ended up going to MIT for undergrad. So I do really like numbers. I like numbers better than writing papers. So I'm the one that like was great at physics, great at chemistry, but great at calculus. But to be completely honest, you don't have to know a lot of numbers to be good at stocks. Stocks is more about business savvy. It's about a negotiation between buyers and sellers. So if anybody in here knows how to run a business, like you know how to buy a product low and then sell it a little bit higher, then you would be good at stocks.
I think that's a good way you broke that down, man. Shout out to you with that MIT background. I think that's pretty crazy. So I like the fact that you talked about it's a lot more simpler than what people think. But I think with you having an MIT background, from my understanding and looking at your bio, you didn't just jump into stocks. Like you were actually in education trying to make an impact. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing.
I was. So coming out of MIT, like my journey's a little crazy. Coming out of MIT, they mainly tell you have to go to Wall Street or you have to go into consulting. And I tried the Wall Street way. So in my junior year going into senior year of college, I interned on Morgan Stanley. So that's where I really started seeing like wow, there's some people making big money out here with this stock game. But the work-life balance sucked. We were in our office all day long, 24 hours a day. We're in the building. And so I said, I don't want that for my life. So I ended up going into consulting, and one of our clients was Teach for America. And I remember telling one of my bosses, like, I really want to make a difference in the world. I want to have an impact. And they were like, well, why don't you go work for Teach for America? And I started working on their administrative team, helping to train teachers. And like, I totally think the Lord had his hand on my life, because I would never know where I am now. But for about 10 years, I was in the education realm, first with TFA, helping train teachers. Then I went into ministry and worked on an after school ministry. And then I finally ended up as an assistant principal of an elementary school. That was my last job. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. So you mean to tell me the assistant principal at elementary school starts playing around with stocks, right? Starts playing around with like real estate. Like, when was the moment you're like, you know what? Maybe I might need to jump ship. Like, was there ever, what was that moment, that defining thing that happened for you to really start taking, your side hustle more seriously?
There was a couple things. One was, I remember this really bad kid, and we're not supposed to say kids are bad, but this little pre-K 4-year-old in my building had thrown a stapler at another kid's head. And then he had to come into my office, tore up the office. Like, we're not allowed to spank a kid. So he came in my office and then tore up the office, turned the table. And mind you, this is a little bitty kid, but you can't spank him. So he turning tables. He took all of the papers on my desk, threw them all around. And then can you believe, like, when his mom came, I'm thinking she going to be on my side. Like, help me. No, right? No, she yells at me because I've had him in the office all day. I'm like, but your kid threw a stapler at another kid. Like, you should be yelling at the kid, apologizing to the other parent. So that was number one. And I had to take that. And then I remember, like, out of the side of my mouth, I remember saying something to that parent. And then I got a write up from my principal, because you're not supposed to ever say anything. I was like, no, this can't. Like, this can't be it. And then another thing was, at the same time that stuff like that happened at my school all the time. Like, I had petty bosses, craziness. But then on top of that, one of my friends passed away. And at the time I was about like 31, and we were close friends. So he was about 31 too. And he had just had a baby. Like, his life was just like about to take off. And he had strep throat. So he got a shot. You're not supposed to die from strep throat, but he got a shot that he was allergic to, and his lungs collapsed. Yes. And I remember that took me and all of my friends, like, we had like a really tight crew in Chicago. And at the time I had moved to Dallas, but I was still close to all those friends. It took all of us by surprise. And for me, it was one of those moments like, life is too short not to do what you want to do. And I remember going home and like really just praying, bawling, praying to the Lord, like, if I could do anything in the world, what would it be? And for me, it was trade stocks, just because I loved it. And I had been doing it as a side hustle and travel the world. Like, I would regret passing away and not seeing all the different wonders of the world.
Yo, that's crazy. I want to jump back a couple bit. The kid story was crazy. I think as soon as you started describing it, you ever seen that Kevin Hart clip where he's like, help me?
That's what I'm thinking about in my head. Help me. Come on. Help me.
Yeah, that's crazy to see a 4-year-old do that. And then, of course, for you to have that aha moment, it's like, nah, this ain't it. This ain't, because somebody's listening to this right now and they might be going to work today and get that moment where this ain't it, and whenever you come across those moments, guys, it's important to do like Teri did and identify them, especially when you got something that you're passionate about, and wants and desires and condolences. And I hate that, you had to lose a close friend, as well. But that process also showed you what life is really about and what's really important while we're here. So let's talk a little bit about the stock thing, right? Let's break it down for the people. So let's say I am somebody right now and I have $1,000 to $2,000 in my hand. And I've seen all of these things. People show stocks and what I should invest in. What is the right smart moves I should be possibly doing with that money?
Great. So, there's so many ways to answer this question, but let me first say, let me set expectations. If you had $2,000, what could you do with it investing? Well, what I teach my students, I have a school now called Trade and Travel. So what I teach my students is our goal is that we're trying to make 1% of our cash amount per day. We're usually day and swing trading. So that means that we can get into a stock one day and then sell it that same day. That's a day trade. Or you can get into a stock and then sell it a few days from now or even a couple weeks from now. That's called a swing trade. But the goal is you're trying to make 1% of your cash amount. So if I have $2,000, I'm trying to make $20 a day, which like don't sleep on $20. Like that's $100 a week because there's 5 trading days. So $20 a day, that's $100 a week, $400 a month. That's good money. That's actually a 20% return, even by just trying to make 1% a day. So now it's like, okay, well, I'm trying to make $20. How do I do that? Well, one of the things that I encourage my students when we're looking for companies, like we want to look for good companies that move at least $1 a day. So think about like think of like an AMD. That's the semiconductors that are in your cell phone. Like, let's use that example. So if you had 20 shares of AMD and it moved $1 a day, well, you just made $20. So that's literally how you make your money. You buy a stock at a certain price, you buy a certain number of shares, and then when they move, you sell it and you get to keep that money. It's called realized profit. And then for me, like when I was at the school, I was replacing my income. So I would just move that money from my brokerage account to my bank account and use it to pay for bills, pay for trips. Like I really wanted to go to Greece. Well, the trip is $3,500. So every time I get that money in my account, I just move it over to my bank account so I could pay for my trip.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So here's what a lot of people want to know, right? So you're doing this, you're thinking about moving money. How soon can you really access the money?
Great. So it really depends on which broker you use. So I use a broker called TradeStation. We can access our money as soon as it comes available. And the reason why is because we use an account called a margin account.
Explain the margin account. What exactly is that?
Well, a margin account is an account where the bank lets you trade with their money. So I know this is going to sound so crazy, but so if you have $2,000 in your account, the bank will actually TradeStation will let you trade with 4 times that. So I can actually have a buying power of $8,000 in my account. So that would actually allow me to afford the 20 shares of AMD that I need to buy to get my goal, right? But another thing it does is when you have that margin, it lets you access your money quicker. So in some accounts, they take 3 to 4 business days to give you your money back. So some people here may have like a Robinhood account. And when they sell out of a stock, it takes them 3 to 4 business. Again, Kevin Hart, like the bank into the check into the savings, take 3 to 4. But that's true. It usually takes about 3 days to get back into your account. And for us, we have that realized money in our account. And if we do a smart transfer, it does take three days to get to your bank account, but at least it's in your brokerage right away.
Hey guys, so let me take a guess. You're enjoying the show. And if that's right, please make sure that you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast right now and tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _. I promise you this is going to help in amazing ways. And while you're at it, hit the 5-star rating and subscribe. With that being said, guys, let's get back to the show. Okay, great way to kind of break that down. I think a lot of people always say, all right, I just gave my money up. How soon can I grab some of this back? Right? Like they want to know, like for you talked about, how you wanted to make sure it replaced, your income or what you had. So some people right now have their $2,000 and they see so many people advertising, hey, invest in this. Hey, invest in that. What is Teri's thought on this thing that I see every single where? And some people say it's like scamming. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's like foreign exchange. What is foreign exchange? Like, break it down for us.
Okay. So you're talking about Forex. So yeah. There are 3 different types of there might be a little bit more, but there's 3 big asset classes in investing. There's stocks, then there's Forex, and then futures. And then let me break those down. I'm a teacher. So for everybody on here,
take them to school.
Excuse me if I go too basic, but here, so stocks is a company. So a company wants to raise money. Say you're Uber and you want to go international. So you want to raise some money for that. So you're thinking about they call it going public, because now you're going to offer the public shares to your company. So you think about going public so that you can sell shares of your company in order to raise money. Like that's stocks. That's what the stock exchange is about. Companies. But then you have Forex, and that's currencies. So it's the difference between like American dollar, which is actually going down in value right now because we got so much debt, but American dollar versus the Aussie dollar or versus the euro. So it's just the differences between the exchanges. And this was big for me as a traveler. So for example, if the dollar in America is strong and then I go travel to Europe, well, all of a sudden I can afford a better lunch because now my money goes farther. But at the same time, if the dollar gets real weak, well, now I get over there and I'm like, McDonald's, please, because I can't afford anything. So that's what Forex is really about. It's just the difference in the dollar, like the money, foreign exchanges. And then the last one is futures. Futures is commodities. So it's like wheat, soybean. It was originally built for farmers. So a farmer, if they needed to raise money, they would say, hey, well, my crop is growing right now. I will sell you this for the future once my crop is up. That's why it's called futures. And so you'll see people selling futures, and it's like oil, soybeans, corn. Yeah. And then you also hear options, but options is like a derivative of stocks. It's a way that you're doing contracts of 100 shares of a stock at a time. So it kind of goes along with equities. So those are the different things. The reason why people think it's a scam, though, when they're trading Forex is because now there's come along some like MLM, so like marketing type of businesses that they're not actually teaching you how to trade. They're saying you can make money by bringing somebody else into the company. And I've done that before, like with Mary Kay. I used to sell Mary Kay in college. And, like you sell the makeup, but then also if somebody comes under you, then you become a director and you get a pink Cadillac. So it's not a bad, right? It's not a bad business. But like what's happening right now is Forex is becoming like an MLM thing. And that's why people are saying it's a scam. The actual currencies is not bad. Like learning how to trade that, you need to learn how to read charts, learn how to like look at the market, that kind of thing. But that's not the same as trying to recruit somebody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It's a very legit thing, but I think the is this is okay thing when it comes to the recruiting piece and the MLM, that piece, the way it's coming off to people, it sometimes it could take away from the actual value it gives.
Yes.
It's definitely what I'm getting from here. So somebody listening right now, they're learning all this stuff, right? They're learning terminologies. You're educating us on these abbreviations, that we haven't been able to use, right? What has been like for you? What has been one of your biggest like lessons from doing stocks and doing real estate, that you want to, share with our audience today on how, it has made a true impact in your life?
Man, biggest lesson is that it takes time. Every business takes time and practice. So when I first wanted to quit my job, it took me about a year before I was able to fully quit and start trading full time. So I get that question a lot, like, Teri, how long does it take? I think you have to start learning, like really dive into it, really start taking courses, taking classes. But after you learn the curriculum, you got to practice. And that takes some time. And for me, my goal was $300 a day. I needed $300 a day to replace my principal income. So I didn't start out at 300. It was like, first, let me just be positive and not lose any money. Then it was, okay, I'm doing that. Now let me see if I can make $100 a day, then $200 a day. At 300, I got so excited. I was able to tell my principal, like, throw the deuces, bye. I'm leaving out of here. Y'all deal with that little kid by yourself. Keep letting him throw everything, like throw staplers at other kids. But like it was a process. And so now I've been able to work up even more than that. Then I was like hitting $1,000 in a day. And I was like, okay, I'm doing something now. And now I've hit over $500,000 in a day trading stocks. Same process. It's just about as you become a better and better trader and as your income grows, like you have to have a bigger account size to make more money. then you're able to see bigger results. So I think that's a lesson that people have to know. You're not going to come out like being a millionaire, like Teri's a millionaire. I'm going to come out today and be, no, you can grow to that, but you just learn the basics and then keep practicing.
Yeah, I think that's so key. So many gems in that whole message you just gave. So many people want end results, but not willing to put forth the effort to practice, right? And what I like about what you said is it's really about being an action taker, and not somebody that's just about a bunch of motion, right? People write down all these things they're going to do. They never do them. And so what Teri's telling you guys right now is start taking an action. Set a goal, but start going towards that goal. And every day can get better for you, as long as you're consistent to some aspect and making it happen. So what's next for you, right? Because with somebody that has the MIT background, somebody that has, thousands of students that you're teaching, what's the next level for Teri?
Biggest thing is we have $1 million a day campaign right now. And the thought is we're teaching 1,000 students to make $1,000 in a day. And then that will be generating $1 million a day. And we're like, oh my gosh, because most of my students, probably about 80% of my students are Black and brown, like minorities. And so if we're generating $1 million in like minority communities, what does that look like? Like, how can we change the world, right? So right now, that's what I'm super excited about. We've already gotten to over 300 people in the $1,000 in a day club, and they are killing it. Like one girl posted up, yeah, I just had my year anniversary. I made $10,000 today. And I'm like this is mind blowing. Like, we're totally changing perspective, changing life goals, like everything. And then when you think about what that money can do, well, how many systemic problems do we have because of lack of funds, whether that's healthcare or school systems? Like, if we're generating the money in our communities, now we can start pouring into changing underlying factors that used to be a problem, Yeah, so that's what I'm excited about.
That's a crazy, awesome goal to have. And shout out to, people that are, joining your programs and being a part of it and being educated, inspired to go out here, and create. I want to ask you the question like we've asked, every single person that's ever hopped on this show, that's ever hopped on this podcast, right? That is, if you were that college student that just graduated, or perhaps, you never even walked across that stage, you just completely just dropped out, and you were asking yourself the question of the podcast, school's over, now what? What advice would Teri give?
Learn how to trade stocks for yourself. Don't think that you're going to have somebody else manage your account. And even with like the whole buy and hold long-term retirement way, or I'm stuttering because I don't like it. I want you to learn how to actively invest for yourself, because it's a skill set. And this is what I want all students and all people to know. This is a skill set that you'll have for life. When you know how to make your money grow, yeah, you might get busy, you might start working somewhere, but when you get that big bonus check, you know how to work it. Or, you're hustling, you sell your company, now you all of a sudden you have some money, or anything, you're saving and you pay down some debt. Like, this is a skill set that you can turn on and off when you want to. And I wish that I had started investing for myself earlier. It was definitely, as I was in education, it was something I did as a side hustle, but I wish that I had really taken ownership earlier so that I could have it long term for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm so glad you said that here on the show. And right now, I want to ask you a question I'm sure everybody has thought about as they're listening to this. What are some companies that people should be looking at right now, especially with COVID-19? What are some companies that people should be looking at and investing in?
Great question. So I'm definitely a tech baby. So of course I'm going to go for all the tech companies, but some that you may not have thought about are Salesforce. Recently, I heard, and okay, disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only. I'm not telling you what to do. Investing is risky. But so some of the things that I'm excited about is Salesforce just announced that they're partnering with schools to really help schools with I believe it's contact tracing. So all the higher education, and I might be saying this wrong, but this is something that I'm excited about. All of colleges, in order to go back, they have to now start doing contact tracing. Well, just think about if you have millions of students going back and all of them have to use Salesforce to do the contact tracing. That's huge. Salesforce was already a good company, but now they have a whole new market. So that's something that I've been thinking about. Of course, Zoom is cool. There's everybody's on Zoom calls now. And then the big ones, as always, you got your Amazons, and then you got Apple that's splitting its stock. Of course, those are always going to be good, but start thinking about some of the ones in the back, like Adobe, Teledoc. Those are the ones that are actually running everything that we're using during COVID.
So true. And so true. What Teri's saying is, what are people utilizing the most right now? Definitely keep your eye out, on that. So people right now want to know more about you. They want to find out, hey, where can I dive into maybe even her courses, her classes, and get more information, or follow you on social media? Give everyone, your social platforms and the best way they can get in contact with you.
Yes. So my course is called Trade and Travel. And if anybody wants to know how we make $1,000 in a day, I have a free webinar at itradeandtravel.com. So itradeandtravel.com. Check that out. That's the best way to figure out what is she talking about? How is she really making $1,000 in a day? So go to that. That's my free webinar. And then on social platforms, check us out at Trade and Travel. On YouTube, we're at Trade and Travel. And then on Instagram, it's at I'm an Investor. It looks like Imani Investor. Everybody thinks my name is Imani, but it's really supposed to be I'm an Investor. I thought I was cute, but people get confused all the time.
Hey, I'm glad you clarified that. And guys, be sure to do that. I hope you guys have found, so much, knowledgeable information in this episode. So thank you so much for being on this. And for those of you guys that have been listening, always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it. Yo, what you think? I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I want to know what you learned. So if you wouldn't mind, would you take a screenshot of you listening to the podcast on your phone right now? Upload to your Instagram stories, tag me at Shawn R. Anthony _, and then let me know in that Instagram story what is one thing that you learned. I love hearing from you, my listeners, thought leaders, former or current students all around the world. Let me know, and while you're doing this, go inside the podcast app, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and a 5-star rating. Again, this helps us reach more people. And if you want to be a part of this mission, helping us change the world one person at a time, it makes a massive difference by you leaving a review. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week. And remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.